Two golden beams pierced heaven. The gods trembled. Born from stone, destined for chaos. This is the rise of Sun Wukong. How did a playful monkey become a king, a disciple, and eventually a threat to the heavens? The answer starts here. The great sage, equal of heaven, dwelled content in his celestial manner, roaming the clouds by morning, drifting among the stars by night, his days as free as the wind. Yet when the Jade Emperor heard whispers of such boundless leisure, he summoned Wukong with a thoughtful decree. Since time lies light upon your hands, we entrust you with the peach orchard's care. Tend its boughs with wisdom, and the great sage, ever delighted by new wonders, bowed with a grin. Never one to delay, the great sage went straight to inspect his new charge, the heavenly peach orchard. At the gate, the elderly groundkeeper bowed in surprise. Great sage, what brings you here? The Jade Emperor himself placed these trees under my care, Wukong declared proudly. The groundkeeper summoned the orchard tenders, who all paid their respects before leading the sage on a tour. As they walked among the blossoming boughs, Wukong's golden eyes sparkled with curiosity. How many trees grow here? 3,600 in all, the groundkeeper explained. The first 1,200 bear fruit every 3,000 years. A single bite grants immortality. The next, ripening every 6 millennia, bestow flight among the clouds. The last, with purple veins and golden pits, take 9,000 years, but those who taste them share the lifespan of heaven and earth itself. From that day forth, the great sage visited often, strolling beneath the perfumed branches with quiet delight. One day, when the ripest peaches hung like lanterns from the ancient boughs, the great sage could resist no longer. With a courteous word to the groundkeeper, "You need not trouble yourself today," he climbed into the emerald canopy and feasted to his heart's content. And when the memory of their sweetness called him back days later, who was he to refuse? Meanwhile, the Queen Mother of Heaven prepared her grand peach banquet, sending 7 rainbow-robed fairies with woven baskets to gather the celestial fruit. At the orchard gate, the groundkeeper bowed. "Fair ones, this year is different. The great sage himself guards these peaches. We must seek his permission." "Where might he be?" asked the fairies. "Napping amidst the trees, no doubt," the old man sighed. Together they searched, unaware that the mischievous sage, after snacking and playing among the branches, had shrunk to the size of a blossom and curled up in a leafy nest high above them, dreaming of endless summers. The 7 fairies exchanged worried glances. "We cannot return empty-handed, not with the Queen Mother's banquet at stake," a nearby celestial attendant offered. "The great sage often wanders. Gather your peaches and I'll explain to him later." Nodding, the fairies drifted through the orchard. The first trees yielded 2 baskets, the middle trees 3, but when they reached the oldest grove, the branches stood nearly bare. Only one peach remained, blushing pink and gold on a high bough. As the green-robed fairy gently pulled the branch down, and the red-robed fairy plucked the fruit, poof, it transformed into the great sage himself, rubbing his eyes. "Who dares steal my peaches?" he murmured, his golden staff appearing like a waking dream. The fairies knelt like falling petals. "Forgive us, great sage. We are the Queen Mother's 7 handmaidens, sent to gather peaches for her grand feast. When we couldn't find you, the great sage helped the trembling fairies to their feet with a kind hand. Now tell me," he inquired, "who has the Queen Mother invited to her celestial banquet?" the fairies counted softly on their fingers. The Buddha of the West, the Bodhisattvas, holy monks, and arhats, Guanyin of the Southern Sea, the sacred emperor of Cheng'en, immortals from 10 continents and 3 islands, the mysterious sage of the North Pole, the great yellow-horned immortal, the 5 constellation lords, the 3 pure ones, the 4 emperors, and many more heavenly dignitaries. Wukong's golden eyes twinkled with curiosity. And has she invited me, the great sage equal to heaven? The fairies exchanged glances. We haven't heard your name on the guest list, one admitted gently. Is that so? Wukong chuckled, though his tail twitched thoughtfully. As the great sage, surely I deserve an invitation. Wait here, dear ladies, while I investigate this curious oversight. With a whispered spell, still, still, still. The great sage left the fairies peacefully paused beneath the peach trees, their baskets still brimming with blossoms. Soaring on his cloud, he nearly collided with the barefoot immortal drifting toward the banquet. Where goes the honorable sage? Wukong inquired brightly. To the Queen Mother's feast, the guileless immortal replied. Ah, Wukong's eyes sparkled. The Jade Emperor sent me to announce a change. All guests must first gather at the Hall of Luminous Wisdom for ceremonies, trusting his morning light. The barefoot immortal bowed and turned his steps. Meanwhile, with a ripple of magic, Wukong assumed the immortal's kindly visage and floated toward the waiting jade tables of paradise. The great sage arrived at the jade pool to find the banquet tables perfectly arranged, but no guests in sight. Just then, a rich, sweet aroma caught his attention. Turning, he spotted celestial brewers tending barrels of divine nectar. His mouth watered. Just a taste, he thought. With a flick of his wrist, he plucked a few hairs and breathed. Change. They transformed into sleepy little fireflies that landed gently on the brewers' noses. One by one, the workers yawned, their eyelids fluttering shut as they drifted into peaceful slumber. Alone now, the great sage sampled delicacies from every table, then lifted an entire wine jar to his lips. The nectar flowed like liquid gold, warming him from whiskers to tail. As the stars twinkled above, a tipsy realization struck him. Oh dear, when the guests arrive and see this mess, the Jade Emperor will have my head. Best sneak home for a nap before trouble comes. The great sage stumbled through the clouds, his path weaving like a sleepy dragon. Instead of returning home, he found himself before a pearly gate, the very palace of Lord Laozi, the Supreme Elder, where elixirs of immortality were forged. How curious, Wukong mused, swaying slightly. I've always wished to visit this very place, since fortune has brought me here. Peeking inside, he found the grand hall silent. The elder was away teaching his disciples. In the alchemy chamber, 5 golden gourds sat beside a softly glowing furnace. Their contents sparkled like captured starlight, perfected pills of eternal life. How generous of heaven to leave these out, Wukong giggled to himself. One by one, he tipped the gourds, savoring the pills like candied nuts, each one bursting with celestial sweetness on his tongue. As the elixir's warmth settled in his belly, clarity returned like morning mist. Oh dear, Wukong murmured. This isn't mischief. This is a storm that could shake heaven itself. With one mighty somersault, he streaked back to Flower Fruit Mountain, where his subjects rushed to greet him. Great sage, they cried. You left us for over a century. A century? Wukong blinked. I was gone barely half a year. Don't you remember? An elder monkey chuckled. One heavenly day equals one earthly year. Wukong sighed, recounting his adventures. The Jade Emperor honored me as great sage, gifted me a celestial manor, even entrusted me with the peach orchard. But when the Queen Mother excluded me from her banquet, well, I may have sampled the divine wines and accidentally finished Laozi's immortality pills. Now heaven might want words about it. The monkeys cheered and brought forth their finest fruit wines to welcome their king. But after one sip, Wukong's nose wrinkled. This won't do at all. The subjects laughed. After heavenly nectar, our humble drinks must seem bitter. But isn't there wisdom in the saying, plain water tastes sweetest from home? Wukong's eyes softened. And no family is dearer than my own tribe. Then his whiskers twitched mischievously. This morning, I spotted jars of celestial wine in the Jade Palace. Wait here! With a flip and a whisper of invisibility magic, he slipped back to the banquet halls, returning moments later with shimmering vessels. As each monkey drank just half a cup, their fur gleamed with newfound vitality, and the cave echoed with delighted chatter deep into the starry night. Meanwhile, the 7 fairy maidens, who had been frozen in place by the great sage's magic, finally broke free after a full day and night. Clutching their baskets, they hurried to the Queen Mother of the West to report. The great sage equal of heaven trapped us with his sorcery, delaying our return. We could gather only 2 baskets of small peaches and 3 of medium ones, but not a single ripe peach remains, for the great sage stole and ate them all. The Queen Mother went at once to the Jade Emperor. As she spoke, a celestial official rushed in. Someone has disrupted the peach banquet, drinking the sacred wines and devouring every delicacy. Then Laozi, the supreme elder, arrived in dismay. My elixirs of immortality have been stolen. Next, the attendants from the great sage's own residence knelt and confessed. The great sage abandoned his post yesterday and has not returned. Even the barefoot immortal approached, bowing deeply. Yesterday, on my way to the banquet, the great sage told me to wait at the Hall of Universal Brightness, but your majesty never came, so I hastened here instead. The Jade Emperor's eyes widened. To think he would dare forge my decree and deceive my loyal subjects, he turned to his officials. Send the divine investigator at once. Find this rebellious monkey. The divine investigator bowed and departed, returning shortly with his report. The one who has caused such commotion in the heavens is none other than the great sage, Sun Wukong. Upon hearing this, the Jade Emperor's brow darkened. He summoned the 4 heavenly kings, Heavenly King Wu Jing and Prince Nezha, along with 28 constellations, 9 luminaries, 12 zodiac spirits, 5 directional guardians, 4 seasonal deities, stars of east and west, gods of north and south, and all the sacred mountains and rivers, commanding a celestial host of 100,000 soldiers. With great care, they wove 18 layers of heavenly nets around the flower fruit mountain below, ensuring not even a breeze could pass through unchecked. Their mission was clear: capture the rebellious Monkey King by any means necessary. The gods led their heavenly troops away from the celestial palace and set up camp at the foot of the flower fruit mountain. The little monkey scouts scurried into the cave in a panic, reporting, "Great sage, terrible news. 9 fierce deities have come from the heavens saying they're here to subdue you." At that moment, the great sage was feasting with the 72 cave-dwelling demon kings. sharing celestial wine. He waved off the report carelessly, murmuring, "Today we drink, today we rejoice. Why trouble ourselves with quarrels at our door?" Soon, another group of little monkeys came tumbling in, crying, "The 9 wrathful gods are shouting challenges outside our cave." But the great sage only chuckled and recited, "Wine and verse bring today's joy. Why fret about tomorrow's deeds?" Just as the words left his lips, yet another scout rushed in. "Grandfather, the 9 deities are breaking into our home." Now the great sage's patience wore thin. "These impudent spirits," he thundered. "I ignored their rudeness, yet they dare invade my domain." He ordered the one-horned demon king to lead the 72 cave lords into battle, but the 9 luminaries of the heavens drove them back, trapping them at the iron plank bridge. As the clamor rose, the great sage himself arrived. With a mighty cry, "Clear my path!" his golden-banded staff expanded to the thickness of a bowl and the length of 12 feet. One sweeping strike, and the battle began. The 9 luminaries could hold their ground no longer, yet they still shouted defiantly, "You reckless fool, the so-called protector of horses, your crimes are beyond forgiveness. First, you stole the sacred peaches, then drank the immortal wine, disrupting the grand peach banquet. You even stole the Lord Laozi's golden elixir and smuggled heaven's finest wine here to feast. Your sins pile upon sins. You deserve no mercy." The great sage only laughed. "Oh, I won't deny those deeds, but tell me, what do you intend to do about it? By the Jade Emperor's decree, we are here to subdue you," the 9 luminaries declared. "Surrender now, or we shall level your flower fruit mountain and tear apart your water curtain cave." At this, the great sage's temper flared. "You petty spirits, what power do you have to make such boasts? Very well, don't flee just yet. Taste my staff." After only a few exchanges, the 9 luminaries were forced to retreat. Seeing their defeat, Heavenly King Wu Tian summoned the 4 heavenly kings and the 28 constellations, leading a vast army into battle. In response, the great sage sent forth the one-horned demon king and the 72 cave lords to meet them. With his golden-banded staff whirling like a windmill, the great sage fought fiercely against the celestial host. The skies emptied of birds, beasts fled through the mountains. Dust and stones swirled, darkening the heavens. The earth itself trembled under the clash. The battle raged on, shaking the very fabric of the world, from dawn until the sun sank behind the western hills. The one-horned demon king and the 72 cave lords were captured by the heavenly host. Seeing the day grow late, the great sage plucked a handful of his hairs, blew on them and cried, "Change!" Instantly, 1,000 duplicates of himself sprang forth, each wielding a golden-banded staff. Together, they drove back Prince Neja and forced the 5 heavenly kings into retreat. When the great sage returned to his cave, the 4 elder monkeys knelt before him, weeping 3 times, then laughing 3 times. Puzzled, the great sage asked, "Why do you greet me with both tears and joy?" "We wept," they explained, "because the 72 cave lords and the one-horned demon king were taken, but we laughed because you returned victorious." The great sage waved a hand. "Victory and defeat are part of war. As the saying goes, to strike down 10,000, you lose 3,000 of your own. Besides, those captured were only tigers, leopards, and wolves. Not a single one of our monkey kin was harmed. There's no need for sorrow." He stretched and yawned. "The heavens will surely return for battle tomorrow. For now, let us fortify our defenses, feast well, and rest deeply. Gather your strength, we fight again at dawn.